Welcome to the Line Before Podcast. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. And thank you guys for subscribing and giving us a follow on the Facebook page. Everybody go like Nighthawk Radio Facebook page. I want to thank everybody that has liked it and followed. Go give Seth's Daily Podcast a subscription on YouTube, Spotify. Give us a follow on Facebook. Give us a follow on TikTok as well at Seth the Soil Guy. This is the Line Before Podcast with my co-host Tracy. How are you doing tonight, Tracy?
What's going on, brother? Happy Mother's Day to everybody. This is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. You have a very tough job to keep in line, especially boys, especially if you're single mothers. I wouldn't trade anything you got for it because you're just a special breed. So thank you guys. We've all got mothers. So if you still have your mother, thank her and hug her for sure.
Definitely, man. And they also have their husband.
That's some there's some truth to that, I guess. Hey,
As
I want to
another
give a shout
kid,
out to on the Nighthawk Facebook page. We've been posting stuff. Well, you've been posting stuff. You've been staying on it pretty regular. You know me, I couldn't post anything, but let alone put it on the Facebook page. But I mean, we
yeah.
got one show that has kind of been a breakout show. It's Two Girls One Cut. It's about serial killers. They put a show out Thursday. This is Sunday, and they've got 650 views since Thursday, and that's pretty impressive. And they're actually going to do another show tomorrow about Eileen Warnos. If you guys are interested in that, she was a serial killer out in Florida, prostitute. And if you remember the movie Monster with Charlize Theron, she portrayed Arlene Warnos in that movie, and it's a really good movie. But yeah, they're going to get into that pretty heavy tomorrow night. And I think Seth will probably let that go around Tuesday. I'm assuming Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, I would say. So, but I got a question for you. Have
What's up,
you
brother?
ever heard of people going missing in our national parks?
I have.
Well, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this guy. His name's David Pilates. I've been following him off and on for several years. He is a retired police officer who has kind of put these things together, these missing people in these national parks, and it's all over the country. But he's meeting some resistance. But there are a lot of missing cases in our national parks that can't be explained. And this guy kind of breaks it down, and we're going to hit a few of them, some of the mysterious disappearances here. So yeah, man, this is something that's kind of close to me because I have followed this guy. There is an actual book called Missing 411. There was an actual documentary under the same name. So if you get a chance, I don't remember if it's on Netflix or one of the streaming services. If you just put in Missing 411, I mean, I'm sure it'll pop up. So, but yeah, these cases are very mysterious. Some people attribute it to maybe animal attacks, but once you start hearing some of these stories, the animal attack percentage goes way low. It's more on the mysterious side of what's causing these people to go missing. Are we still on?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. Okay, well, I'm gonna get into this story, and we're gonna read a couple of these and
Oh, you was
see.
wanting me to do something?
No. I was kind of filling you in to let you know about what was going on. So, um, uh, this missing 411, it's so fascinating to me. I'm gonna get into it. It says, people go missing every single day, and unfortunately, some of their disappearances will always remain unsolved mysteries. When there's a pattern in a type of victim that goes missing, police typically believe it's the work of a serial killer. But in the case of missing 411, the explanation to these disappearances could be something entirely different. A retired police officer named David Pilates noticed similarities in the unsolved disappearances occurring in national parks. Just a few of the common traits are that none of the victims left behind a scent trail for search dogs to find. Search parties will spend months looking for them, and the bodies are never recovered. Sometimes the clothes are found in an area that have already been searched hundreds of times before. Pilates went on a personal mission to solve these mysteries, or at least gather as much information as humanly possible. He compiled his findings in a book called Missing 411. He's also got a documentary film. Out of respect for the families, Pilates never shares his own personal theories about what happened to these people. Fans of his work try to use these cases as proof of Bigfoot, aliens, interdimensional wormholes. Some thinks it could be a clan of cannibals living in the wilderness, and maybe they were dragged off by mountain lions or bears. The strangest cases, though, are when these people are found alive to tell their stories and yet still have no logical explanation. So we're going to start with this kid named Stephen Kubiak, or Kubecki, I'm sorry, Stephen Kubecki. Says February 1977, a 24-year-old man named Stephen Kubecki was cross-country skiing through the snow near Lake Michigan. Once he reached the edge of the lake, he took his skis off to sit down and rest. When he got up to leave, his own tracks were gone and he became lost. The last thing he remembers was walking through the snow, feeling numb and exhausted. He blacked out in the blink of an eye. It was spring. He was laying in a grassy field in the middle of a forest, wearing clothes that weren't his. Sitting next to him was a stranger's backpack containing running shoes and glasses that did not belong to him either. He hiked to the nearest town and asked a local resident where he was. They told him it was Pittsfield, Massachusetts, 700 miles away from where he had been skiing. His aunt and his father lived in Pittsfield, so he knocked on his aunt's door. His family was in shock, hugged him, asked him where he was been. Kubiak had been missing for 14 months at that point. When Kubiak had first gone missing, the search team found his poles and skis at the edge of the lake. There was only one set of footprints leading towards the water, but none walking away. They could only assume that he had drowned himself and frozen the lake. He had been missing for so long, everyone assumed him dead. The official explanation is that he had amnesia and was wandering in a fatigued state. But even doctors are baffled by this case. It's incredible for someone to lose their memory such a large chunk of time, and it still leaves so many unanswered questions. His story was included in the psychology case study in a book about amnesia, but even experts have been unable to figure out what actually happened. Kubiak had already earned his degree in linguistics before he went missing, but he was also fascinated by his own case that he went on to earn his PhD in psychology because he wanted answers about his own disappearance, and yet he still couldn't find him. Solving the mystery of his missing year became an obsession, and he went on to publish a book called Meta Mathematical Foundations of Existence. In it, he writes about his possibilities of alternate universes. So, what happened to this guy over 14 months, man, and was found 700 miles away? So, I mean, that's scary. But I mean, there's so many of these cases. We'll go on, and you just make up your own mind.
That was pretty weird though, because you said his uncle and aunt lived in that town.
Yeah, 700 miles away. So, yeah, this case right here, I took a not really a personal interest in. It's just it fascinated me so much. Um, this little kid, this little boy, I don't remember how old he was. He couldn't have been more than 3 or 4 years old. His name is Dior Coons. In July 2015, Dior Coots and his girlfriend, Jessica Mitchell, were on a camping trip with their 2-year-old son, Dior Jr. They brought along Jessica's grandfather and a family friend named Isaac Reinwand. The campsite was extremely remote, on the edge of a Rocky Mountain National Park. There was only one dirt road leading into the area, and they parked their trailer and car. The morning after their arrival, Jessica, Dior, and Dior Jr. all went to the nearby town to run some errands. When they came back to the campsite, Reinwald was holding a large fish he said he had caught in a nearby river. Jessica and Dior Sr. asked to see where he'd caught the fish, so they began to follow him with their son. The little boy suddenly wanted to get candy from his grandfather, and they allowed him to walk by himself back to the campsite, which was only a few yards away. The grandfather confirmed that little Dior returned safely to him and that he was watching him run over or watching him over him. But in the blink of an eye, the toddler was gone. During an interview, the parents explained that they had searched for the boy for about 20 minutes before calling 911. There was no cell service at the campsite, so they had to drive down the road until they could complete the call. A search party helped them comb the area for several days with no sign of his scent or tracks. Helicopter with heat-seeking cameras flew over the area as well. A 2-year-old should not have been able to go very far. Everyone was baffled. Years later, this case is still unsolved. Many in the general public believe Dior's parents are suspects and that the public outcry to have them tried for murder. However, there is no evidence that they killed their son. So there's one, I mean, just a few yards away, and he's gone. And that was in 2015, and this is still an unsolved case. And, you know, usually, even with advances in the technology that we have to find even cadavers, usually something pops up by now. That's 9 years ago. So what happened to this little fella? I
Maybe
mean,
the feral people, man.
well, I
Uh,
mean, you can make a case that, yeah, it was a bear, or yeah, it was a cougar, or, something to that effect. But if he was just a few yards away, the parents or the grandparents or the grandpa would have heard something.
yeah.
There would have been signs of a struggle, possibly. There could have been, as bad as I hate to say it, there would be blood, you know, um, something. There would be some kind of something, there. But it's just like this little fella disappeared without a trace.
The feral people are known to do that, man. Like kidnap people and stuff. The feral people.
Right. Sure. And I mean, that's a good possibility. You know, um, I mean, you don't know. It's these cases are just so baffling to me that they happen in national parks. So, once you get into the missing 411 book or the documentary, you'll find out that David Pilates reached out to the park services, the national park services, and they will not give him any information whatsoever, even though it is public record. When he tries to get any kind of report or anything involving anybody missing in a national park, they want to charge him like $30,000 or $40,000 to get this info. And no, unless you're a millionaire, you ain't got that laying around. So what is the Parks Department of the United States hiding? I mean, that makes me think that they're in on this for whatever reason it could be, or that they know something and they're being quiet about it.
Possibly the feral people, man. Uh,
So
Maybe they don't want us to know that there's possibly some wild people or whatever, or
yeah,
Neanderthals.
I mean, at this point, any kind of theory would be better than nothing. So,
Yeah.
but we got another one here. Is this guy's named James McGrogan, 2014, a medical doctor, James McGrogan, went on a split snowboard trip with his friends to Vail, Colorado. Not many people have heard of split snowboarding. It's a sport a lot like cross country skiing or hiking on snowshoes. He came prepared with his cell phone and a satellite GPS system. He was much faster than his friends, so he said that he would wait for them at the next stop. They lost sight of him and never saw him at any stop along the trail. When the search team went looking for him, they found no tracks, no snow that veered off the trail. So they had no idea where he could have possibly gone. 5 days later, his body was discovered 4.5 miles away, which was more like a 14-mile hike, as he would have had to climb up mountains in order to get there. His body was found by two hikers at the bottom of a frozen waterfall. The search party had gone over the area multiple times before, but never seen him until that day. McGrogan was mangled in a strange position. His skull was crushed as if he had fallen from the sky. He was still wearing the full ski outfit and helmet, but there were no boots on his feet, and he had also taken off his gloves. The search and rescue team later found the discarded split snowboard, but they never found his boots. His cell phone and GPS were working, and he had packed a backup battery as well. They tested the area and was where he was found, and there was a cell phone signal, yet never called anyone for help. The police deemed this an accidental death and closed the case. So, it's, to me, that one is almost a little more believable. But it's still strange that they found him 4.5 miles away, and he was on apparently on some kind of trail to with friends. So that's the suspicious part right there. I mean, if you're with a party, I think that's the scariest part. It's different if you're out there by yourself, but if you're with people and you can go missing like that, I mean, how do you combat that? It's you just wake up 14 months later in a field, it's springtime.
That's crazy. That's really
but
crazy.
let's get on to another one. This guy's name's Keith Parkins. 1952, a 2-year-old boy named Keith Parkins went missing from his home in Ritter, Oregon, in the middle of winter. He had been playing outside with his jacket on, but he was far from equipped from spending the night outside alone. His family and a local search party looked for him immediately. They could follow his tiny footprints to a point before they completely stopped. There were no other animal or adult tracks nearby. 19 hours later, they found Keith. He was 15 miles away, had taken his jacket off, and was laying face down in the snow on a frozen pond. Keith was alive. When they asked him why he had run away and how he had survived, he said he didn't remember. Survival expert Les Strout filmed a segment for the Missing 411 documentary to demonstrate just how impossible it would be for 2-year-old Keith to walk so far on his own, especially at night. To this day, no one is exactly sure how Keith survived the night, and we may never know. A 2-year-old, man, found 15 miles away. That man, that's weird, man. How I can't even. I don't understand how a 2-year-old could physically himself walk 15 miles away. Could it be a serial killer? I mean, absolutely could be, but it would have, if all these cases are related somehow, it would have to be a serial killer targeting national parks. Now, on top of that, that serial killer would have to be so good that he could snatch you a few yards away from your family and nobody know. So,
Sounds like an animal.
well, it could be. It very well could be because I mean I believe keeping an open mind on everything about this. But again, what there would be signs of struggle, especially in the snow. You would find animal prints. You would find tracks. I've hunted all my life, and the best time to track an animal is in the snow, whether it's already been, shot. You can follow a blood trail, or you can follow track. And
It's
apparently, there's
Bigfoot, man.
well, I mean, it's I don't know, but again, you would probably see tracks.
Oh no, they say Bigfoot's real smart.
So, well, I mean, I'm not knocking it. It very well could be. So, but
Never
it's
know.
just this thing fascinates the crap out of me, just because the mysteriousness of it. Uh, if and the scary part, like I said, if you're with a party of people and can go missing in the middle of this party, if you just look at it this way, if you're walking down a trail and you're the first guy and you're say 10, 15, 20 yards ahead of everybody, and that trail just has a little dip, just enough for you to go over that dip and go out of sight for 20 seconds, and you're never seen again. One, something has to be stalking you to get that opportunity to do that.
That's creepy, man.
Yeah, man.
That's creepy. So,
Listen, I've hunted all my life since I was 9 years old, and when I started looking into this, dude, I'm telling you, every time I'd go in the woods, I'd be looking over my shoulder because this would always in the back of my mind. Yeah, I have a weapon, and no, I don't want to kill a man, but I would if I had to. You know, if it comes down to me or you, it's going to be me. I'm going to walk out. So, but to me, it sounds like whatever this is, it doesn't matter if you got a weapon or not. I mean, it's a power that's well beyond our forces and imagination.
so did he find like a connection between all these cases together?
Well, yes, well, kind of, but without, I would have to relive some of this stuff to actually give you a fair assumption of what he had found because I don't want to skew it in case people want to see it or read it for themselves. I can't pull it off the top of my head, but there are certain connections with certain things. So, but if you want to know, like I said, I don't want to give you the wrong answer, give you a skewed view. So please go out if you're interested in this stuff. Look up Dennis Pilates Missing 411 book, or like I said, there's a documentary. Just punch into your search engine on your TV or your apps or whatever you got. Just Missing 411. But the next one here is a guy named Dennis Martin. It said it was Father's Day weekend, 1969. 6-year-old Dennis Martin was at the Smoky Mountains National Park with his
Oh,
brother,
that's where the
the
Pharaoh
Farrell
people
people.
have
That's right.
been
So
seen, man.
he was there with his brother, father, and grandfather. They camped out for the night, and the next day, a man approached Mr. Martin asking if his sons wanted to play with his kids. Since they were about the same age, Dennis's father agreed, and the children started a big game of hide and seek. Dennis's father kept his eyes on his son from a distance. Dennis hid behind a tree, and when other kids jumped to reveal themselves, Dennis didn't. His father got up and ran over to where he had last seen his son, and he was gone. The Appalachian Trail was nearby, so he ran at full speed for 2 miles, yelling and calling for Dennis, but he couldn't find his son. They called park rangers and spent the night looking for him. The search for Dennis Martin became massive. The FBI, Green Berets, park rangers, and local volunteers searched for 6 weeks. The only thing they found belonging to Dennis was one shoe, one sock, and they'd never found the body. Pilates conducted an interview and dug through the files with testimonies. The Key family had been camping in the park at the same weekend, and they asked park rangers where they could go to see the bears. They were told where to go, and when they arrived, they reported hearing a scream. The child pointed to the top of a hill, saying he saw a bear. The father said it looked more like a scary looking, wild, hairy mountain man dodging behind trees while carrying something over his shoulder. So, and you may be onto something, Seth. I mean, but again, that means these feral people would be in the Smoky Mountains, in the Appalachian Mountains, in the Rocky Mountains. You know, but it's not that far fetched. You had a guest on not too long ago talking about the feral people in Tennessee, or was it Kentucky?
Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains. Okay, so that'd be Tennessee, possibly North Carolina, Western
He's
North
been
Carolina.
sent hundreds of stories about the Pharaoh people in the Smoky Mountains.
So I mean, yeah, it's not that far fetched to where it very well could be. Um, So,
Expedition X actually did an episode on that, the Pharaoh people of Smoky Mountains. That was a good watch, by the way.
and it's like right now, any theory is better than no theory. You still have the possibility of a wild animal. You still have the possibility of, some kind of time warp, whatever. Um, it's so frightening to me that you could, like this kid right here, his dad was watching him go behind a tree and then he was gone. So again, that tells me that something, whatever this is or whatever's doing this, has to be stalking you until it gets the opportunity to grab you
And
or
that sounds like the Pharaoh people, man.
or make you disappear.
Definitely does, because they're, I don't know, man. I don't know if there's theories about them being possible. Well, I came up with my own theory about them being Neanderthal type of human.
Well, I mean, okay, and I know this is stereotypical people, in the mountains, but if these people are feral, you know that there's inbreeding going on. Um, so you start messing with your chromosomes, and things go awry. And if it's generational, then I don't know that there's ever been any studies of generational inbreeding.
Not that I
But
know of.
regardless of whether that's the case, you still have a, sense of survival. So, if that's the case, then you would be looking at, are they protecting what they have, or are they hunting you for food? Are they, what are they, what's the motive? And if there's really no studies over generational inbreeding, then you wouldn't know.
Yeah. They're known to have like their own language too, like whistling to get like whistling to each
Right.
other and all that. Well, there's rumors of that. Can't say 100%.
I imagine whoever's heard that probably never come back to talk about it.
I wouldn't. If I
I mean,
seen a feral person, man, I would just run.
well, that would be, I mean, that would be something to see. That'd be like seeing a Bigfoot, really. I mean, because these people would probably have the art of stealth, you know, from a early age.
Yeah. I
So
say I say there's a good chance there is feral people out there, man. Really good chance.
yeah, I'm not knocking it at all. There's a very good chance.
More of a chance than Bigfoot being real, honestly.
Well, I mean, it's probably tit for tat. I would say tomato, tomato, but I mean, it's just that's another theory that I mean could be possibly looked into. But and then again, like I said, you'd have to be in the Rocky Mountains, the Smoky Mountains, the Appalachian Mountains. You know, they would have to have them all over because this stuff is going on, all over the country.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, honestly, we haven't even discovered everything on Earth, man. So there could still be Neanderthals out there. I mean, who knows?
I mean, we are slowly closing the gap of where places in this country are. There's very few places left that are untouched by man, but there still are pockets of places that have never, man's never laid eyes on. So that we know of
We're discovering new animals every day, man.
every day. And I mean, we know less about our oceans than we do anything. And the world's, 2/3 covered with water.
Yeah.
So,
And really, we don't even really know fully what Neanderthals really was.
um, Cro-Magnon man, I mean, there's so many theories that,
Yeah. But we
that's a
don't know
whole,
100% what it really was.
yeah, that's a whole different show.
That's very interesting stuff too, man. Neanderthals. I'm just
But,
coming up with a theory that the possible still
and
alive, man.
well, yeah, and right now, any theory is better than nothing. So,
Yeah.
let's get into this next one. This guy's name, Bobby Bizup, 1958. 10-year-old partially deaf boy named Bobby Bizup was attending a Catholic camp for boys called Camp St. Malo that sits on the border of the Rocky Mountains National Park. A camp counselor found him fishing at the river and told him to come back to camp for dinner. The boy started to follow him, and when the counselor glanced over his shoulder to double check, Bobby had disappeared. 400 people searched for 9 days but found no clues. 1 year later, counselors found his hearing aid and bits of torn clothes 2,000 feet up the side of a mountain. The search party had already searched that area at least 3 times the year before. None of his remains have ever been found. 2,000 feet up a mountain. And this kid was 10 years old, you know.
Could that possibly be a mountain lion, maybe?
I mean, absolutely. Could have been a bear. I mean, bear, in the summertime, I think, or is it the wintertime? Either way, the bears go up high to hibernate. So, I mean, again, yes, it could be wild animals, but the mysteriousness of all this it makes me think that some of these could be wild animals, but I don't think they all are.
It's crazy that you said there's connection too, man. That's blew my mind.
Yeah, and I think the connection is really more of a theory than fact. But I mean, David Pilates has put a lot of his own time, a lot of his own money into this, and him being a retired police officer for I don't know, it was many years. He knows how to look for clues. He knows how to look for things, just because of his background over the years.
What
And
happened to him?
he's still around doing documentaries on this stuff. So um,
That's awesome.
I know there's two different documentaries, and I think they may be two different books. But I'm telling you, from the time I started watching, I never read the book. I come across this in a documentary, and because I'm a documentary nut, I don't watch much TV. But what I do watch is usually documentaries. So, but this guy has really, I mean, put a lot of time into this, and like I said, he knows how to look for clues. He knows how to when things aren't right, because of just the sheer part of his background. So, but let's do this other one. It's named Jared Atadero. 1999, 3-year-old boy named Jared was living with his sister and father, Alan, at the resort Jared's dad worked at in Comanche Wilderness, which is a national park in Colorado. A Christian single group was staying at the resort, and one of the women in the group offered to take Alan's kids with them for a few hours to a local fish hatchery. They never asked Alan if they could take the children hiking as well, but saw a sign nearby that said trail and decided at the last minute that they would go through the forest. The Christian singles were so involved in their own hikes that they lost track of Jared, and he wandered away from the group. Two hikers in the area saw him walk away alone, but assumed his parents must be nearby after this. He was never seen again. In 2003, two hikers climbed up a very steep rock face about 500 feet above the trail. They found one child's tooth, a piece of skull, and Jared's clothes, which were fully intact. They had been taken off his body and turned inside out. There was one shoe which looked brand new somehow. It was perfectly preserved for those 4 years. The area where his remains were found was far too difficult for a child to climb to himself, and it would have been an unnecessary difficult location for an adult kidnapper to carry him. It also doesn't line up with a bear or cougar attack pattern because the clothes would have been ripped off and covered in blood. Atadero's family is still haunted by the unanswered questions. And I mean, this is just a few of these things. I mean, there's hundreds, if not
That's a
thousands.
sad story, man.
Yeah, man. Could you imagine taking your little kid, three, like I got a grandson, Colt, he's 4, 5, somewhere around there. And I can't imagine, and I take him fishing and stuff. And, I could see getting caught up and maybe catching a fish and then turning around and him being gone without a trace. And that would be just absolutely horrible for anybody, any parent, any grandparent, any whatever, your family to go through.
It wasn't
But
even their kid, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, could you imagine the guilt they have?
And they wasn't even supposed to take the kid hiking either.
Well, I mean, more than likely, and of course, I don't know. He may have said no, but I mean, more than likely, you just said, sure, take him. You you're going to watch my kid. But you know, so there's thousands of these, man, that people going missing in national parks, and that's just national parks. I wonder what state parks are doing. How
It's
many people go
untelling,
missing? We got Wayne National Forest right here, not less than 4 miles from my house. You know, I don't ever recall anybody going missing, but there's these national parks are there's something going on. But here's the crazy thing to me is why is he meeting such resistance by the Parks Department to get any information about any of this?
that goes into my theory, man. This the fair people. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it could be feral, it could be an unknown animal, but
Or
again,
Bigfoot.
I mean, we're thinking you got to look now. We're talking about again. I've said it before: the Smoky Mountains, the Rocky Mountains, the Appalachian Trail. The how could all this be kind of in the same basket in all these different national parks that are thousands of miles apart?
Something weird is going on though.
Something weird is definitely going on.
And I
Uh,
agree with you, they're connected, man.
so here's another one. It says 1928. And see, these go back. I mean, 1928, a newly
That's
married
crazy,
couple.
bro.
Yeah, a newly married couple named Bessie and Glenn Hyde wanted to take a boat down the Colorado River, which runs through the Grand Canyon National Park. The river was hundreds of miles long, and it would take several days to make the journey. Glenn had been preparing for their honeymoon for a long time, so he built a 20-foot boat, which was very safe. He wanted to win prize money for a new speed record to travel down the Colorado River. And if they succeeded, Bessie would go on record to be the first woman to ever make the trip. During the journey, they would stop and hike some trails. They met a photographer named Emery Kolb, who took pictures of them, later gave the photos to police. When they never arrived at their destination, Glenn's father became very worried. He asked the park rangers to send an airplane over the river, and they spotted the couple's boat. It was floating upright with no signs of ever being overturned. Their supplies were still in the boat, as well as the couple. The couple was nowhere to be seen. The story of Bessie and Glenn has been retold many times. It's even become sort of a legend, like stories of Bessie's ghost being spotted standing on the river. There are multiple theories. In 1971, an elderly woman claimed that she witnessed Glenn abusing Bessie and Bessie stabbing him running away. The woman later recanted her story, however, saying she made it up for attention. A few years later, the unidentified body of a man in his 20s found buried near a cabin of the photographer, Emery Kolb. The man had a bullet in his skull, and it was determined that this was not the body of Glenn Hyde. But it still leads someone to believe that since Cobb was once the last person to be seen with them alive, he could have murdered them. So, I mean, we could go on and on and on. There's just story after story, about these missing people in our national parks. So, you know, I mean, I got one more. We'll go ahead and get through it. It says in 1981, an 84-year-old man named Maurice Dementz went topaz hunting with his friend David McSweeney. Dementz had a PhD in theology, and in the 70s, he said in several publications that he had believed the Antichrist was coming. He wrote that the devil would appear as a political, religious, commercial autocrat of the world. Oh, God. I see what happened to him. They took him out. They drove to Pike National Forest in Colorado. Once they were in the park, they had to drive 16 miles down a dirt road until they reached a spot called Topaz Point. Native Americans claimed it was haunted by evil spirits. Early settlers called this place the Devil's Head, which was a very scary and interesting coincidence considering the theology background of Maurice. Maurice could barely walk because he had bad knees. He needed David to help him down the hill to get to a sandy digging spot in the forest. When it was time to leave, David walked to Maurice's digging spot and said that they should go about 10 minutes, or go in about 10 minutes. When he turned his back, it was digging 150 yards away, and he was cleaning up his tools. But when David returned to Maurice's spot, the elderly man was gone. With bad knees, it would have been impossible for Maurice to climb up the hill on his own, and he couldn't have gotten far into the forest, yet he was gone. He honked the horn, called for him, and searched for a long time. McSweeney flagged down a nearby car and asked them to find the police while he continued the search. Local authorities searched for 5 days, and yet they never found any evidence. The police closed the case, claiming that they did all they could do. The men's wife sent a letter to the governor of Colorado to reopen the case, and she never replied. After Pilates created a mini documentary about the case for Missing 411, pointing out that there have been a cluster of similar disappearances in Devil's Head. After premiering the mini doc, the police reopened the Dements case over 30 years after the disappearance. I mean, there you go. I mean, at 80, what they say? How old was he?
84.
84 with bad knees. So where in the hell did he go?
I don't know, man. That's chilling, honestly.
And the guy was 100 yards away from him and turned around and he was gone. And that, to me, that's the scariest part of all this. If something is snatching you away right in front of people that you're with, man, what do you do with that?
There's nothing you can do, really. These things are quiet, man.
You just become a statistic.
Whatever it is, they're super quiet too.
Yeah, because like everything that I've seen and read, there's very few survivors of this. They either don't find you or they find pieces of you. For the most part, there's only been a handful of them that actually, survived. And the ones that do survive usually can't remember what happened.
Hmm.
So
That kind of sounds like the alien abductions type
well,
stuff where they can't remember anything.
Missing time, absolutely. I mean, um, there is a story of Dr. Man, I cannot remember his name. Richard. Man, I can't remember. But anyway, he was up in the Pacific Northwest hiking with his dog and come across this obelisk just floating in the woods. And according to his story, now I know this sounds far fetched, but I also know there's a whole lot of stuff out there that's unexplained. That this creature got out of this obelisk and the dog went to attack it. It was a golden retriever. And this thing grabbed this dog and ripped its head off. And as that was happening, this Dr. Richard, I wish I could remember his name. Anyway, he picked up a stick and hit this thing in the back of the head. And he said when he did, this thing started to vibrate. He said you could physically see it vibrate, and it made him so physically ill that he passed out. And when he woke up, this thing was laying beside him. He said half its skull was, exposed from where he hit it with this club or stick or whatever he found laying it there. And he ended up taking this thing home and putting it in his freezer. And oh gosh, man, I wished I could. This is a great story, man. If anybody could if I could just remember his name. Um, Jeff, do some shameless plugs. I'm gonna see if I can find this real quick.
Some shameless plug.
Yeah.
All right, man. Our new radio station is coming out here soon. And we actually got a phone number right now. Our phone number is 606-657-0961. And once the station starts, which I don't know the exact date, but it'll be here soon, you can call the number and later on you'll be able to request songs. You can leave a voicemail, send us a text, give us a topic you want us to talk about, and we'll definitely uh we'll definitely talk about the topic you send us. Definitely excited
Uh,
about the phone number, ain't you, Trace?
I absolutely. I'm still trying to find this guy's name. Daggone it. I wish I would have never said nothing now. Um,
No, you're good, man. My voice is a little hoarse right now.
uh,
Gotta love Kentucky weather, man. It's warm, then it's cold, warm, then it's cold. But yeah, our phone number is 606-657-0961. Send us the voicemail here soon, man. You can send us a voicemail right now. Give us topics you want us to talk about on the shows. Send us a text message, man. Uh, and then once we get the music stuff going, you will be able to send in music requests.
yes, and like I said, if you get a chance, please check out all of our shows. But I'm telling you, these girls are kicking butt, son. Um, I am not
Yeah, if
finding this guy.
you want to give them a topic to talk about, send us a text message.
Dr. Jonathan Reed. Okay, that's this guy's name. If you look up, you can go to YouTube, look up Coast to Coast AM, and look up the Dr. Jonathan Reed story. It is one of the most incredible stories you'll ever hear. Now, I don't know if it's true. I have no idea. But to hear this story, if it is true, it will be one of the most incredible stories you'll ever hear. Dr. Jonathan Reed on Coast to Coast. It's incredible. I can't do it justice by telling you the highlights. It's just you have to listen to the entire story. It's incredible.
Definitely, man. Now tell people where they can find us at, Trace.
Well, if you want to find Seth, probably I'll send him an email, I'd say.
Or you can call 606 six
There
five
you
seven 0961.
go. Or you can do that. I'll have
That's
to
the
write all
radio
that.
station. That's Nighthawk radio station's new phone number.
I'll have to write that down. See, that just all happened in the last couple of days.
And we got a website as well, nighthawkradio.com.
Yes, eventually that is going to become our main source of getting things out. But right now we're using the Facebook page, we're using the Spotify, TikTok, what else?
YouTube,
YouTube. Yeah.
Facebook. We'll
So
still
yeah,
be we'll still be uploading even when the station is going. We'll still be uploading on them
yeah,
platforms
yeah. See, the station is just going to be like where you could catch, like if you wanted to watch this show, say it'll
first.
be on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You know, and
It'll
then
be on there
some
first, yeah.
Yeah, and then some other show will be on, say, Thursday at 8 o'clock. And then once those air on the radio station, you'll be able to look on Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube. So, but yeah, man, that's missing 411. I'm so fascinated by this, these things that there's got to be and some sort of explanation. And the mysterious part is, why is the Parks Department giving people such a hard time of finding anything out of any kind of information when it's public record?
That's very interesting, man. And creepy at the same time.
Very creepy. And it makes you think next time you go out into the woods, what's going to happen?
Scary, man, definitely. Everybody go like the Nighthawk Radio Facebook page, man. Like you said, you can check out this show, be up tonight. Tomorrow we got the Two Girls, One Cut, CUT.
CUT. That's right.
Uh,
It's a catchy name.
What's that?
It's a catchy name.
It is, man. It's a pretty cool name. But yeah, I
But
appreciate everybody that's watched that, man. And
yeah, check out Abby and Britt, man. They're good at what they do.
And you, Tracy, as well. You're the co-host as well.
Well, I kind of fill in background noise is what I do. Hey, listen, I'm learning just like you guys. They're the brains of that operation. I just ask questions.
You're the you're just like a producer type, pretty
Yeah, we go with that. I'm more like just
much.
a bystander that is inquisitive. So,
Uh, but yeah, man, if you want to hit up the station, give us a text, give us a call, leave a voicemail 606-657-0961. I'm very excited to have the phone number. It's gonna be cool whenever we start doing music. You can request a song. And you can also request a topic you want us to talk about on each
oh,
show.
please do. Please. I mean, I'm always open for suggestions. And the goal is eventually when we're doing shows, you could call in live in the show and ask questions.
Oh, you will be able to, because
Yeah, that would be great. So yeah, man, I'm excited. This thing is slowly coming apart or coming together, not apart. But yeah, so that's if we could get Joe going and make this thing happen, hopefully within the next week or two, everything will be going.
appreciate everybody that's followed. Appreciate everybody that's liked. Everybody have a good night. God bless. Been the Line Before podcast. Peace.